I don't really feel an emotion that I don't like. I just sit in it and feel it.
So there's never a moment you're like, oh, I don't like how I'm feeling about this. It's making me sad or like anxious. You don't ever feel like, ew, I don't like how this feels. Let me stuff it down or let me forget about it.
No.
Why do you think that is?
Mm.
So you're just like, all feelings are just feelings and I'm going to feel it. I think that in itself is pretty powerful because we live in a world that tells us that some emotions are bad.
Welcome to Living in 3D Power, a space where questions matter, stories heal, and joy is our practice. I'm Dr. Amber Sessoms, and each week I sit down with my daughter Emma to talk honestly about life, identity, and the power of wonder. This season, we're guided by a sacred invitation. What would it look like if joy was our strategy, not our reward? Here, we discover truths long buried, discern paths toward freedom, and devote ourselves to living with authenticity and love. Together, across generations, we're learning that joy is not the prize at the finish line. It's the rhythm that carries us forward.
Hey, it's me, Emma. Welcome back to Living in 3D Power. And today we're going to be talking about how Mommy read her friend's article about grief.
Yeah, about grief. So Dr. Erica McDowell wrote a Substack, what do you call it, an essay, a post on grief. She's been doing a lot of poetry, but this one in particular really resonated with me because you know how we've been talking about grief, and not just with Uncle Avery, but just kind of just sometimes like how we talked about your friend. And we might not even talked about this on the podcast in so many words, but you know how you got really sad the one day because you said you missed your friend and you're not sure why you weren't friends anymore. Like that back and forth, on again, off again stuff can be hard. And there's a lot more people doing work now with adults talking about losing friendships and how that's grief. And what I was saying on our 3D Power Pulse, so I do that every Sunday morning at 7:14 in the morning, is talking about the expansiveness of grief and saying how, you know, if you have friends and you're falling out of friendship with them, or maybe at this point I'll be 45. At this point in my life, I thought my life was going to be like this. Like you plan out your life, and then when you look at it, you're like, dang, I'm not where I want it to be. People grieve that. And I think some people think it's like such a big thing to say grief when it's not death. But I think it's pretty profound to be like, I'm actually feeling grief about this because it shows the gravity of how we feel about things. So when we say like, I feel grief, like it might be like, that's dramatic, but no, you can feel that heavy emotion in other aspects of your life. And I think if we honor what we feel, it makes us better humans, because when we feel that heaviness, if we can name it and be like, oh my gosh, I feel lost. Like I feel really heavy. You know how you talked about with Uncle Avery and you were kind of describing numbness, but you didn't say it like that. You were saying, I feel blank. I feel blank.
Yeah.
And so if you can put a name to it, or you can talk about how it makes your body feel, it helps you a lot to navigate it and to like get kind of not to the other side of it, because it's never going to be ending, but it helps you to name it. So when you feel it again, you can be like, ooh, there's grief, or ooh, there's sadness. How do I do something to kind of process that? So we'll talk a little bit about that today. And also, I'm also just honoring that I'm exhausted. Emotionally, we're both exhausted because we've just been through a lot in our family, and we continue to keep going through stuff. But I think it's really important to be consistent. And even thinking about, I wasn't going to do the 3D Power Pause this weekend because it was Resurrection Sunday. But then Aunt Florence reached out and she was like, are you still going to do it? And because she recently lost Uncle Percy, I thought it was really important that she was like, I still going to log on, because she's a pastor. She still had to they do like sunrise service, so they get up really early and do service. But she got right off of that Zoom and got on mine. And I thought that was really important to show how important it was that even when she's going in the midst of all this stuff, that she's also trying to practice consistency and stillness. So she encouraged me. So how we start out the 3D Power Pause, we usually start out with a breath prayer. And you remember you made up your own during one episode. So I'm thinking, like, do you want me to read it and you want to practice it, or do you want to read it and do the guided practice together? What are you thinking?
First one.
So me read it and you practice it. Mm-hmm. So what I want you to do, and usually when I do this in groups, is I have people ground their feet on the ground. there's something about thinking about we are part of creation and nature that, we have all these plants in the house, and I started buying plants during COVID. It's something called biophilia. So you're bringing the outdoors in, and there's something grounding about having plants and being one with nature because that's how we were designed. So what you can do to help ground yourself is people, sometimes if they're having a panic attack, do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a panic attack, it can be helpful. I'll tell students or adults even, take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground. If you're outside, plant your feet on the earth. People do like nature walks, or I'm blanking on the term that they call it right now, forest bathing, where they walk through the forest because they're grounding themselves. So usually when people do breath prayers, I say ground your feet on the ground, but we're really comfy on the bed. And another thing you do, yes, and another thing you do is you can put a hand on your chest and one on your belly to kind of breathe. Sometimes I like to even hug myself because that's important to me, like physical touch. So whatever feels most comfortable to you. And then on the inhale, right, we hold it. And on the exhale, we're releasing that tension. So inhale, we're holding in that dead intention and breathing out, exhaling out what needs to be released from our body. And what I want you to notice is how your body feels in the beginning and afterwards. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a breath prayer for the both and. So how we talk about both grief and joy. Inhale. I stay with what I feel. Exhale. I release the need to rush. Inhale. I witness what lives in my body. Exhale. I honor the truth that it holds. Inhale. I make space for my grief. Exhale. I allow joy to exist alongside it. And just notice what you're feeling, where you're feeling it. Do you feel the same, different, better, worse? Notice your heart rate, your breath. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. What did you notice?
I focused on your voice.
Okay. What did that do?
It helped me listen to my surroundings.
Oh. And what did you hear? What the surroundings did you hear?
The clock.
Uh-huh.
The lawnmower.
Yeah.
And your voice.
That's good. So that's a mindfulness practice, right? Like just tuning into what's around you. And you like ASMR, so I think that's part of what calms you. So you're already using a natural skill that you have, and you're tuning, you're listening to your environment. I think that's really powerful. And it's hard for people to do that. So the fact that you can do that and recognize that's a strength of yours, that's really powerful. I love that. So right, if you're in an environment and you're feeling stimulated, overwhelmed, how do you just even hear it? We call it white noise.
I have that sound machine.
Yes. And I have to use that at night too. Even when we travel. So we have a travel sound machine and I forgot to bring it, but I found a sound on my phone that I can use and just keep it on a continuous loop because it does help me. And I notice when I wake up in the morning, I'll still just kind of play it because that sound, or before I go to sleep, I turn it on early. It just grounds me. It's that background noise.
I hear it in the morning.
Yeah.
It's continuing.
But I think that is really, really powerful. And anything else? Oh.
But what if I can't listen to ASMR in the moment?
You can listen to your surroundings like you do. So you said you were tuning into my voice and you heard the clock. I didn't even hear the clock. So the fact that you heard the clock and you could hear the lawnmower outside. So what could you tune into in your environment that kind of grounds you and help you to focus on that? I think you can always do that. It's always readily available to you, right? Your breath's always available to you. So when you have nothing else, if you don't have a fidget, you can always come back to your breath.
We're not allowed to have fidgets at school.
Oh, really?
They call it a toy.
But it helps you, right? So that's something to talk about, yeah, because we don't want to block things that can help you to focus or decrease anxiety, because that's the purpose of a fidget, right? But to you, like, you just really, you answered your question. You were able to tune into things in your environment, and you always, again, have your breath. So that's something I have to do. When we had a really hard situation, I just like have to take a breath. I have to breathe because I'm a shallow breather. Anything else that you noticed? But I think that was really good observation.
I felt like it kind of went like quiet when you talked for a second, but I could still hear the lawnmower mower, and like I just felt peaceful.
That's good. I think for me, what I noticed from you is that when I said the inhale and then you couldn't hold it in. And I remember doing this with a group in Pittsburgh, and the one guy, Dr. Mike, I was like, stop, say exhale. I had to say exhale. He was waiting for me to say exhale. But the point of it is you hold it a little bit past where that tension hits, and that helps to lower your heart rate. And it just makes you mindful of your breath. Yeah, so, and that's something to work on. So maybe starting out and maybe not holding it as long until you can build up that stamina. But I think that's powerful. And the other thing I noticed when I got to the part where I said I make space for my grief, I almost got teary-eyed. Because in the world, like, we are so busy moving and moving and moving, and there's so much happening. I feel like it's just like piling on that we don't take the time to pause. So this pause, and what I do on Sunday mornings, gives us that time to just be in our bodies and to feel the things. But I felt myself feeling that, and I feel like I paused a little bit longer in that one. But I was like, oh, we got to exhale and get to the end of it. But if I could sit with that grief, I think I would cry, because it's just so much, Emma. And it's not even just like,
cry.
Right. And I think you probably
Just
can't hear
cry.
her, but she's like, I don't know where
Just
your microphone
cry.
No, but like your microphone is. But yeah, I think that is not just in what's going on in our family, but also what's going on in the world. It's just so much heaviness at times.
Stinky.
Right. But I saw this post today from Dr. Tressie McMillan Cottom, and she was talking about, she just got married this weekend, so congratulations. And she was saying how she feels, I don't know, I wouldn't say the words, I'm paraphrasing right now, but she basically was like, in so much like the dumpster fire of the world, like, that I'm focusing on joy, but it's also a reminder that there's also that into the world. So I think it might be my algorithm right now, because I'm talking about the both and, that yes, it's like dumpster fire, like calling a war and trying to eradicate a whole nation of people by this president, right? Which is absolutely disgusting. And at the same time, people are experiencing joy in the midst of all this. And it's a reminder, what people are saying online, it's a reminder of humanity. It's a reminder of love. It's a reminder of what we're fighting for. And I think you help me to do that every time we sit down and talk, just every day. And I hope that encourages others too in this world to remember that we need to be future focused, and what is our legacy going to be when it's right in front of us, right? So I think that's powerful, but it's just all that grief that is just like kind of swirling around. And for that, my friend Dr. Erica McDowell wrote a beautiful piece, and I shared that in my newsletter, so I'll put the link in the bio. But I was reflecting on that in the 3D Power Pause, and a little bit of what she said was, we live in a world that rushes grief, and people will say things like, be strong, right? Everything happens for a reason. At least, like, you ever hear people be like, well, at least you didn't experience this. Like, they'll play like this, like it could be worse. And that's not really helpful to people. It's like, I'm experiencing this, so we're not going to talk about like tackling on like it could be worse, so just be grateful for what you have. Let me honor what I'm feeling, because it's still really painful and I'm grieving that, instead of being like, because what it does is it's telling other people, I'm uncomfortable, so like just buck up, like get it together. It's like, I don't like that you're feeling like that. So she also then says, these phrases don't hold us, they hurry us. And I thought that was really powerful. That line stayed with me. They hurry us. They don't hold us. So what is it like to be held, right? To embrace, to feel cared for, right? Like that warm, fuzzy feeling. And that can happen in grief, right? Like we can sit in that feeling and be like, ooh, grief is love. And she says something to like, there's the phrase like, where's grief with no place to go. And she said something like that. But I just thought that was really, really beautiful what she was saying about even the different forms of grief. Grief is leaving a place, a
Grief
role.
is this sadness because you love the person so much.
Yeah, right. And that's okay because like you would rather have, there's a phrase, something like, I would rather have love and lost than to never love at all. To experience that is profound, and there's people that don't ever experience that kind of life or don't let people into their life like that. So that is true, but it's still very painful because you miss that person. And also just, which Dr. McDowell says, grief is growth because every becoming requires a letting go. So to go through something and let that go, if it's letting a physical person go because of death or letting a friendship go or a dream that you had that you feel like you can't have anymore, that letting go, there's a growth in that. And growth can be painful. Like, how you have growing pains and sometimes your joints hurt. There's growth, there's pain and like actual growth too. So that's kind of the growing pains of being, a human being too. So I thought that was really powerful. So just thank you, Dr. McDowell, for sharing that with us. And the other thing I asked in the group chat, I said reverence. She used the word reverence when I said, give me one word for your week. And she was saying reverence. And she gave a definition, and let me know if this makes sense to you. But the definition was a deep feeling of profound respect or veneration. So profound respect, like I respect you so much, like you are this esteemed person, often mixed with love or fear. So that's kind of like the both and there. Typically directed towards sacred, divine, or highly esteemed people, objects, or ideas. And what that made me think of was if we can think about Resurrection Sunday and how Jesus died for us, if we can give reverence to Jesus and we were created in the image and likeness of God, do we also give reverence to one another and to ourselves? Is that like, what does that look like to honor our full humanity when, God came down in human form and felt every emotion and died for us and took on all of that abuse so that we could be free? So I think about that too, and like how do we reverence ourselves and honor ourselves and not beat ourselves up? And part of that reverence is feeling and understanding our emotions. As hard as that is, but there's a freedom in that. So I just have 3 questions I want to ask you. I asked questions for the week, but we did the kid version for you because I think sometimes you give better understanding for people. And so the question I want to start with is, what do you do when you don't like how you feel? Like if maybe you're feeling an emotion that you don't like how it's making you feel, what do you do when that happens?
I don't really feel an emotion that I don't like. I just sit in it and feel it.
So there's never a moment you're like, oh, I don't like how I'm feeling about this. It's making me sad or like anxious. You don't ever feel like, ew, I don't like how this feels. Let me stuff it down or let me forget about it.
No.
Why do you think that is?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, all feelings are just feelings and I'm going to feel it. I think that in itself is pretty powerful because we live in a world that tells us that some emotions are bad. And one of them is anger. Like anger is bad. And thinking about being professional, you shouldn't be angry. And what I'll do is try to name it. Because last week we talked about, you said you can feel 2 different emotions at once. Like, and I think it was like happy or angry or like angry and fear. I forget which 2 you.
Angry and sad.
Angry and sad. So say I'm in a meeting and I'm really frustrated about how the meeting is going. Or I don't feel like they're advocating for what we need to do or like living with their values. I'll say, I am really frustrated right now. And I'll name my emotion. And what that's doing is honoring my humanity and saying like that we can talk about our emotions in a public setting, in a professional setting, without it being like, she's not being professional because she's feeling. We have to be fully embodied people, but we have to be able to use our emotions in helpful ways so that we can still do the work. But I can't be like, I'm not feeling anything. Because part of what makes me human and what makes me a good leader is because I can feel that and embody that, because that shows how I care about people. So I love that you're like, I don't think I feel any emotion that makes me feel bad where I don't want to feel it. I just kind of let myself feel it in a world that's going to tell you differently. So I think that's a superpower you have. And I think that's something we all have. but we lose it because we become, what do you say about adults?
Robots.
So you're not becoming robotic. So I think that's powerful. Yeah, and the other thing is, for me, is like one of the follow-ups I was thinking was like, what feeling do I try to push away? Or maybe what feeling did you try to push away today? But for you, do you ever try to push a feeling away? You're like, I don't want to explore that right now.
Not really.
Not really. I think I had a moment like that today. We kind of talked about it in the car because Pop didn't like the change that was happening with the new cable system. And, people were getting frustrated because he was getting frustrated. And you know how we talk about when people are up here, we got to come down here. I don't think I wanted to push an emotion away, but it's kind of like in that moment, it wouldn't have been healthy for me to go where everyone else was going. Someone has to be grounded. But so I think about that. But are there times where I want to push an emotion away? Maybe. So I guess the follow-up to that would be, have you ever acted like you were fine when you weren't? What's the face for?
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
When I'm like upset about something, I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah, you do, and and what is my response when you say that?
Are you sure?
But I'm
Really?
also in real time, I'm like, you don't look fine.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
crying, or your face is showing this. So I don't think you're really fine, because if you were fine, or like your tone, or like all of those things. So why do you think you say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine?
Because I want people to leave me alone.
So one of your coping, like sometimes you do need that break. Like just give me a minute so that I can compose myself. I can feel what I'm feeling. Let me feel it. And then I can come back and talk. And sometimes when you're so flooded, right, you're feeling so much, you can't speak it. And we want people to talk it through. Like, I can't talk, I'm feeling right now. So I think that's fair enough to be like, yeah. So that I'm fine isn't necessarily being honest. It's more like you're saying that so that you can have space to feel what you're feeling and then process. Good to know. And I think what I do, and I know my therapist has said this to me, like I was saying something really hard and I was smiling as I was saying it. And she was like, but why are you smiling? And it's something in psychology we call incongruence. So if we're feeling something really heavy, so the best example I can give is like when and you do this now, I've noticed, like when we're in pain, we laugh, which I was like, when you did that, when you got that shot, I was like, oh no, she is me. I did that in labor with all three of y'all. Like I'd be in labor and your dad's like, she does this every time until it gets where it's too painful. But because when you're laughing, you're contracting your stomach, right? So you're already contracting when you're in labor. But that's kind of incongruence. Like it's not lining up with the actual reality. So sometimes people respond like that because I think you did it, right, to keep from crying. Right.
I was like,
And I do that too. So incongruence when we're experiencing a heavy emotion, like I'll laugh or you can make a joke, but people say there's truth in jest. So we can make a joke, and our family does that a lot. Like we joke about things so that it's not so serious, because that's another way to kind of deflect so we don't feel the heaviness. So I think that's important to think about. But what you're saying is like when I'm saying I'm fine, I need some time. And then I'll come back around when I'm calm. Let me feel, let me go off on myself. Let me
listen
color.
To ASMR.
ASMR, let me color. Let me just ground myself. Maybe do a breath prayer. I'll come back when I'm ready. Don't rush my grief. Dr. McDowell. That's right. Okay, so the last thing I have is, let's see here. Because I had like two. Let me see. The first thing I'm thinking about, like for like, don't rush my grief is, can I sit with this feeling for a minute instead of rushing or running from it? And so for you, you'll go in your closet. And I'm like, Emma, where are you? You're like literally in your closet and you're coloring or listening to ASMR. So is that your grounding place for you?
That's where I like chill out.
Your chill out place. I think that's helpful. Like where in your home or in your environment can you chill out?
My closet or here.
In this room too, you do ASMR in here. Yeah, I think that's good. So where do you have a quiet place? And also the privilege that you have your own quiet place. So I thought a lot about that during COVID when there were students, when we had to do online school, they didn't have their own space, right? They shared rooms. They might have been in like a 2-room home or apartment with 8 people. And so sometimes it's hard to come by quiet. So is that in neighborhoods maybe it's sort of unsafe to go outside, but how do you create your own quiet, your own solitude? So if I am in the midst of chaos and loudness, is that ASMR? Is that tuning it out? Is that just grounding myself? What can that look like? It looks different for everyone because some people have access to quiet in their own space. Not everyone has a walk-in closet like you, right? Not everyone has a spare bedroom where they can come in. So thinking about what does that look like for other people that don't have access to that? Yeah, so I think that's important. And also thinking about who can I talk to? You can talk to me. Who else can you talk to? Yourself. And that reminds me, remember I said the girl that was really quiet when I went to that Black Youth Suicide Prevention? And I'm like, ooh, she's really quiet. And she says, I journal because I had to understand myself. So when you're talking to, are you literally talking to yourself out loud? What does that sound like in your head? What are you saying?
I'm like trying to calm myself down.
Are you saying like affirmations? Or are you saying, what are you saying?
I'm like breathing. I'm like,
Are you saying positive things or negative things?
both.
Both at the same time? Make sure people can hear you.
I'm sleeping.
Both?
Both.
You're saying both?
Yes.
And then how does it end up when you calm down? Does it turn into more positive things as you go along? But it's a process for you. And I think that's fair enough. Like we say negative things, but then we can turn those things around. Kind of like you said, the one they take your shame and turn it around.
And reverse it.
So you're able to do that, but you need space and time to do that. So again, I think it goes back to Dr. McDowell saying, not rushing past our grief. So I think that's really positive, Emma. Like you're saying, I have a quiet space. I feel my emotions. I don't ever think any emotion is bad. There are times when I say I'm fine, but it's really what I'm saying is I need space.
Yeah.
And let me process, let me feel all the icky stuff, if it's icky, not icky, and I come away being affirmed, and then I can come and talk. But give me some space to feel. So I think for this week, what is your chicken nugget wisdom for people that are experiencing all this that's going on in the world? They might be experiencing physical loss of a loved one, trauma, like just the world.
Do a poem.
Do a poem? So write a poem. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Write a poem about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
About how you look. And
You mean how you look? Explain that part.
like your facial expressions.
When you're feeling that emotion?
Yeah.
Oh. So write a poem about how you're feeling, good, bad, or whatever feeling you're feeling, how your face feels with that, and what else?
Your body language.
Oh, so it kind of plays off of last week when you were talking about attuned to your body and how that makes you feel. Like, what is your body feeling? So, like, really checking in with your body. But I love how you're now saying your face. Your face can feel things. Because you said, do you experience, like, your face gets warm when you're feeling happy? Or is that, like,
No,
anger?
my face feels warm when I'm sad.
Okay. So I think, so what you're asking us and inviting us to do is, like, write a poem about how you feel and where you feel it. So in your face and in your body. I think that's a good task, though. Homework assignment. So, y'all, come back next week. Drop it in the chat. Write your poem, where you feel it in your body, how it makes you feel in your body, and what your facial expressions do. You're going to write that, Emma? And we'll share it with the group.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, y'all, we'll see you.
Tongue twister.
No, it's not even a tongue twister, but this is what happened because I'm so tired. I think, like, is there such a thing as grief brain? That would be like depression or just like, ugh. So I'm noticing, because there's so much going on, that I'm getting tongue twisted more and more. But yeah, it happens. So we will see you next week, y'all. Be well. Write your poem. Embody it. Write about how you feel in your body and on your face. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
I'm so glad you joined me and Mommy for this episode of Living in 3D Power. I hope you like it. Now do me a favor before you leave. Subscribe to our Substack and make sure you subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts too. And hey, do me another favor. Share this episode with a friend or family member. If something we said made you laugh, made you smile, or it might mean something to them, just send it away. Okay, one more favor. That's a lot of favors, I know. Head over to the comments on our social media. Tell us what made you say, "That's deep, bro." Because your words encourage other people and they encourage us too. See you next time.